Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we shall see the degree of freedom and the associated constraints with the given system. In the last video, we saw that if we have some particle in 3 dimension, say this is our particle, then it can move in any direction, right? It can move here, here or here. But the independent directions are only the x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So these are the only independent directions which this particle can move. So one particle in 3 dimensions can freely move and it requires 3 independent coordinates. This we saw in the last video. Moreover, for n particles, we saw 3n coordinates are required to let them move freely in space. So we have a term called degree of freedom which represents this movement. So the number of independent coordinates which are required to specify the position is known as the degree of freedom. And moreover, you have noticed that it is very easy to calculate the degree of freedom whenever the particles are free to move and there is no interaction occurring between these particles, right? However, what if your particle now is bound to a container only? For example, you have a sphere here and some particle is moving, some particle over here that is moving inside this sphere only. It cannot move outside this sphere, right? So now we have bound the movement of this particle inside that of sphere. Or suppose you have some other situation that you have some solid ball here, right? And a particle is moving, suppose a particle of gas is moving outside this spherical ball, right? So it cannot enter the sphere and it will move everywhere but the sphere, right? So this is the case. So in that case, we say that we have applied some kind of restriction onto the movement of particles and the degree of freedom of that particle is not so easy to calculate, right? So suppose we are saying that the particle is allowed only to move on the surface of sphere. The particle is only allowed to move on the surface of sphere. So in that case, earlier for 3 dimensions, we had 3 independent coordinates which represent the position of the particle x, y and z. Now we have specified that there is a sphere whose radius is 1, right? And the particle can only move on the surface of the sphere. So in that case, we know the equation of sphere, that is x square plus y square plus z square is equal to 1 square, which is situated at the origin and having radius 1. So this is the equation which we can represent to restrict the motion of that particle. So now here, out of these 3 independent variables x, y and z, one variable is represented in terms of others. Say z is represented like this, 1 minus x square minus y square square root. So the only independent variables remains x and y. Therefore, the degree of freedom in this case reduces from 3 to 2 because we have one constraint over here and this lead to dependence of the third independent variable onto the first 2, right? So the degree of freedom here is reduced significantly and now we are saying that it is only bound to move on the sphere. So in general, if we have a system of n particles with us and there are k independent conditions or the constraints which we shall see right now. So for a system of n particles, if there are k independent conditions are imposed, then the degree of freedom is reduced. In general, for n particles in 3 dimension, the independent particles were 3n. And now the 3n quantity is reduced to k because there are k independent constraints, something like this, right? So this is the general criteria. So now we have talked about the conditions imposed or the constraints. So let us have a look at them in detail. So what are constraints? You might have guessed these are the restrictions which are imposed on the freedom of motion of the system, and these constraints limit the motion of the particle. They cannot move arbitrarily in any manner, like in the previous case when we were talking about a particle moving in three-dimensional space, right? So it could move anywhere. So we can see several examples. Suppose we have a simple pendulum with us. So to a string of length L has been tied to this solid surface, right, at the point O, and a bob here is hanging with this string, right? So now we have displaced this bob and it has appeared here. So we are saying that the motion of this simple pendulum is confined only in the vertical XY plane. It can move only in the vertical XY plane. So now if we use XYZ, that is the Cartesian coordinates, to represent the system, so in this case we are saying X is free to move anywhere, Y is free to move anywhere, but the Z direction has become 0 because our motion is only restricted to XY plane, and for XY plane we have Z is equal to 0, right? And moreover, you can see that this distance is fixed, and that is L. The distance L of bob from O is same at all the times, it is not changing, so it serves as another constraint. So another constraint would be, if we are dealing with Cartesian coordinates, it would be x square plus y square is equal to L square, or if we are dealing with polar coordinates, if this being the angle theta, this distance is equal to r, so r is simply equal to L, right? So this is also one of the constraints. So we saw two constraints over this. So previously we had total 3 independent coordinates, but due to these two constraints, one is knocked out because we are in XY plane and another one is knocked out because of this condition. So total 1 coordinate is required to study its motion. Therefore the degree of freedom of this system becomes 1. Let us see another example. Suppose there is a wire. This is some solid surface, right? And a wire is being attached from this surface to another surface over here, right? It is moving from there to here, right? And there's a bead which can go up and down this wire. So right now it is moving down and it has reached over here. So a bead is sliding down a wire. So what can you say about its motion? Earlier the motion was free, that it could take any value x, y, z. That means the bead could move in any one of direction, but now we are saying that it is sliding down a wire. So the only possible motion for this bead becomes this path of the wire. It can either go up or it can either go down, right? So this is one constraint. Let us see another constraint. We have this constraint of rigid body on the rigid body. And what is a rigid body? Rigid body is something which is solid and do not change its shape over time. That means we are saying every two particles in that rigid body has the same distance at all times, right? So in that case we can write, suppose this is ith particle and this is the jth particle. It has coordinates xi, yi, zi and xj, yj and zj, and the distance between them is cij, which is same for all the particles. Then we can calculate the distance using the distance formula for these two coordinates. That would be xi minus xj whole square plus xy minus xj whole square plus zi minus zj whole square. Square root is equal to cij, or in other words this is equal to cij whole square. If we are talking in Cartesian coordinates, this is the condition for rigid body, that the distance is constant. This is constant. And if we are talking in polar coordinates, then we are simply saying r is equal to cij. So this is the constraint that is applied onto the rigid body. So I hope you understood what are constraints and what is the degree of freedom. In the next video, we shall see how can we classify these constraints. So that is it for this video. I hope you understood. Thank you for watching.